Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We're just going to wait just a couple minutes to let people join the webinar. So just hang in there for a moment. All right, see some more names filtering in. Just give it about a minute more and then we'll get started. Okay, I think we can get started. I think we have plenty of content to get through, so I want to make sure we make the most of our time. So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Eric Pearson. I'm pleased to welcome you all to the next installment of the Sidewalk Talks webinar series from Pattern for Progress. If you didn't catch our last webinar on People First Main Streets, it was great. I encourage you to check that out on our website, patternforprogress.org, or the Pattern for Progress YouTube channel as well. And a quick thank you to our sponsors, our supporters that make this possible, Webster Bank, Verizon, and Empire State Development. And then one just other quick housekeeping thing, Pattern is really excited. We're launching a brand new program called Main Street Makers. The Main Street Makers program is a 10-week training program where participants will meet once a week to learn about Main Street best practices and develop a strategic plan and get positions to apply for funding for different things that you want to do on your Main Street. So applications are due soon. It's occurring later this summer, so we ask for applications by July 15th. It's a very short, simple application, and more information can be found, again, on our website, and we'll send a follow-up email about that. So on to today's topic. Today's topic is creative placemaking through community-centered arts and events. Placemaking has, in my mind, really become kind of a bit of a buzzword. Its meaning has evolved. It's expanded over time. I think it means different things to different people. From my perspective, at its core, placemaking comes down to celebrating local culture and community, highlighting what makes a community unique and a distinct place. So instead of trying to cover everything that could possibly fit under that umbrella, what we're focusing on today is specifically placemaking through arts and events. Events can be a great way to celebrate local culture, support local businesses, and enrich the lives of the residents of the community. You know, events and festivals are pretty common throughout the Hudson Valley, and we are very fortunate to be joined today by organizers of two such events. So we have with us today Craig Smith, organizer and founder of a brand new performing arts festival in Nyack called the Phoenix Festival. And we're also joined by Joe Concra, organizer and co-founder of the very innovative and very successful O Positive Festival, which started in the City of Kingston back in 2010. So just to give you a brief overview of what we're going to do today, we'll first hear from Craig about the Phoenix Festival. We'll follow that up with Joe taking us through a little bit about the O Positive Festival. And then after the overview of those two festivals, I have some questions lined up for some Q&A, and I'll also take some questions from the audience. So the way that we're going to do that is through the Q&A function in Zoom. So if at any point you have a question that you want to pose to either of the two panelists or myself, post it in the Q&A, and I will try to get to as many questions as I can as time will allow. So without further ado, I think I'll hand it over to Craig, and I can pull up, Craig's got a slide deck for us here, and I'll share my screen for that. So go ahead, Craig.
Hi, thanks, Eric. Hello, everyone. I'm really glad to be able to speak with you today. I'm Craig Smith. I am with Phoenix Theater Ensemble, and we have a festival coming up this fall, September 16th through October 16th of 2022. This is the first event of what we hope will be an annual festival. The slides that I have today are slides that we put together as an orientation webinar for some of the local businesses, the local political representatives and community leaders talking about the festival, what we plan this to be, and how they could collaborate and work with us. So I think this will work really well for this webinar in giving you an idea of the scope and focus of this festival. And then at the end, we'll talk a little bit about how we got into this and what we see as some of the key successes that could come out of this and how we think it could be replicable. So we'll take a look at the next slide, Eric. This is the agenda of the slides here. Talk about concept, the program details, the venues, the marketing, the benefits to the community participation, and then Q&A. Next slide. Okay, this is an annual performing arts festival. We're coming out of COVID, so we really wanted this to be uplifting performances, something that would be celebratory for the local community. Our theater company is heading up this this festival. We've been in New York City since 2004, and 2018 we started performing also in Nyack and Rockland County. It's happening throughout Nyack and Upper Nyack. It's spanning 5 long weekends from September to October. We're using the outdoor venues for this. Part of that has to do with COVID, is just giving our audiences as much comfort as possible. They seem to be more comfortable with an outdoor venue as opposed to an indoor venue. And then we also, one of the key things we did when we were first starting to do this, we wanted to sell Nyack and Rockland County actually more than we wanted to do the festival. So we're really concentrating on selling the local village of Nyack, and then, oh yes, and then by the way, there's going to be this terrific festival that you can come to as well. We're thinking we're going to have about 1,500 arts enthusiasts who will come to this. Everything will be, these will all be reserved, paid attendance, so it's not a free festival that everybody just comes, and that we're marketing and we're selling tickets to this, so we can keep control of the number of people coming. And we have some data. We talked about how this will be a boost to the local economy. And then additionally to this, we wanted to be very collaborative, so we wanted to work with other nonprofits that are established in Rockland County, the local schools, BOCES, etc. Next slide. These are the program highlights. We're doing 3 performances, 3 theater performances, The Skin of Our Teeth, The Importance of Being Earnest, and a play that is rarely done, The Harmfulness of Tobacco by Anton Chekhov, in 3 different venues of Nyack. We also invited the Rockland Symphony Orchestra to provide performances for us as well. We will be presenting them along with Children's Shakespeare Theater, local here in Nyack and Rockland County. They're in their 21st year, very successful. They do great work. And then we have a key thing here, which is really interesting. We have a walking audio tour of the village of Nyack, and it's also going to incorporate some augmented reality. And this is free. This is anybody can come and do this. They come, they're going to see some QR codes. They have their smartphone, and they take a tour of the village as well. And then also we want them to stop into local businesses and pick up a raffle ticket. So we drive as much traffic as possible to the local businesses, to the local merchants. It says under consideration, but the raffle is indeed happening. Next slide. These are program details. These are descriptions of the plays that we're doing. It's not totally relevant to what we're talking about today. These are great plays, very uplifting plays. Basically, it's all family friendly. As you can see, this is an ambitious festival, and we're really looking forward to bringing it to the people of Nyack, Rockland County, and also the Hudson Valley. Next slide. These are the venues. These are outdoor venues. There's the Marydale Center is in Upper Nyack. This beautiful, beautiful outdoor venue. It's right at the base of Hook Mountain. It's surrounded by trees, and it's got the Hudson River over to the east. It's got parking available, which is very important to us as well. We will be doing the two plays there. We are building a set that's happening. Everything is happening outdoors. We want the plays to take advantage of the environment of the outdoors. We don't want to go in and pretend we're not outdoors. So how we can do that. And this is there are tremendous benefits to this, but there are also some challenges as well. And then also we'll be at the Garden of the Hopper House, which is right in downtown Nyack as well. Next slide. Our target audience is arts enthusiasts. We really are looking at the tri-state area. A major push is bringing in theater goers and arts enthusiasts, and then people who are interested in the Hudson Valley at this time of year in September, October, when the foliage is starting to change, that they would be interested in day trips up to Nyack for the weekend, looking for individuals. Also, we're concentrating on groups as well. We hope to attract 1,500 festival attendees for our first year. The tactics for marketing is we have a multimedia campaign. This has been going on now for a while. We've already got a jump on this. We have a number of stories, pre-production stories that have been published in local news outlets and local business outlets as well, which we're very thrilled about. And we're doing, some advertising, what budget we can afford to do, press relations, and really concentrating a lot on social media and local networking. Next slide. Community benefits. We really push this as we're doing. Our theater company is based on three tenets, and one is artistic excellence. The other one is company. We are an ensemble. The third one is community. Being a part of the community is very, very important to us. So we want to we want this festival that people can understand. Okay, this is good for us. This is good for our business. This is good for the residents who are living here, who can take part and take advantage of these artistic programs that are going on. And then also we are. It's job creation where we're creating jobs. We're working with local vendors, local sound engineers, carpenters, local places that do, I can't think of the word, when they come in and they serve food. For that, and backstage crews, etc., and internships for set building. We're working with BOCES and having some paid internships with local students there as well. So next slide. We see an increase in consumer traffic for the retail shops, definitely for the restaurants, personal services, spas. And we see also, residential property. That's not a problem in Nyack these days. People want to move to Rockland, want to move to Nyack. So, property prices have continued to go up. But we see this as really being very good. That idea of work and play, we offer that in Nyack, and it's a good place to live, a good place to play, and a good place to work. Next slide. Okay, this is key. We commissioned a study by the Brockport Research Institute, and they surveyed 2,000 arts enthusiasts from the tri-state area, and they asked them, some questions. It was a survey. 58% of them were from outside Rockland. The response to the results: 76 said that they would attend the festival. 64% said that they would come more than one weekend. 86% said that they would shop in Nyack. 96% said they would dine in Nyack. I don't know where else they were going to eat, but that was a good return on that. 34% said they would take advantage of Nyack's nightlife, and 39% said they would stay overnight in a hotel or a B&B and then take part in the next day's programming. This was expensive. We spent about $6,000 doing this study. It was part of our grant request for the CFA to the ESD. Well, we didn't get the grant. We have found that this data has been enormously useful to us, to the local merchants, and also in other corporations and foundations looking for support. This has been a key to everything that we're moving forward. And they Brockport put a revenue value on these results, and they said for every 500 attendees, the local businesses would realize $184,000 in meals, entertainment, shopping, and lodging. Now, this did not include admissions, ticket admissions, or transportation or parking. So we see this as a real boon to the local economy. Now, there's a caveat here. What people say in a survey and what they actually do are two different things. So, but we're very encouraged by this, and we are now talking to the local businesses on how can we assess outcomes. Okay, at the end of this festival, is there a way that we can look that, okay, your restaurant has increased revenue from this festival by $1,000 or $1,200 or whatever? Can we put an economic number on that so we have some real outcomes? We love data here at Phoenix Theater Ensemble. Next slide. We have special performances again with the community. We're working with East Ramapo School District and having some kids brought in for a performance for that. We'll have a talk back later. And then we are working with BOCES for paid internships with their students in set building and audience amenities and hospitality and that type of thing. Very excited to be working with the community this way. Next slide. Participation opportunities, for the residents themselves. We have a board of trustees. We have also launched an ambassador program where people can join and become a Phoenix Festival ambassador, and they get invitations to special events, behind the scenes kind of opportunities that we're doing. But they're also charged with selling $500 worth of tickets to the festival. We haven't done this before, but that's been a great response. It's a great group of people. Sponsorships. We are working with local businesses. I'm also collaborating with a group called visitnyack.org. They have been key to our success. They've been very helpful in getting local sponsorships for us. We have sponsorships from local businesses in Rockland, some in Westchester, 25 to 30 sponsorships. The sponsorships vary from $250 up to $5,000. And then there are some businesses who are more comfortable doing in-kind opportunities for us, discounts and things like that, and helping us to market and that kind of thing. We're looking for bundling. It's not ready yet, but we'll have a page on our website, which is like a concierge page, where people can go into this page and they can be like their own salesperson. They can pick what show they want to see. If they go to a restaurant, they can see a prefix menu right away, and they can, it's like a Chinese menu. They put it all together and they can get a quoted price on that. We're working on this. I think it could be key to the success. I'm very excited about it. See if it's actually going to work. The raffle. And then we have bidding on contracts for the festival works. Catering. That's the word that I couldn't remember. We have caterers coming in who are going to help us. So I think that's next slide. Community organizations, other nonprofits, we are working. There's a very successful community theater in Nyack. They've been around for 70 years. We have the highest respect and regard for them. So we have been working with them. We have daytime performances. And we did this key in working with the Chamber of Commerce so that audiences will be through with their performances at 5:30 and 6 o'clock. So then they can go down to the village and they can go to a local restaurant. They can go to Marine's Jazz Cellar. They can go to a local comedy club. Or if they haven't seen enough theater, they can go to the local community theater and see more theater that evening. There's also a designation of Helen Hayes was a Nyack resident. She was the first lady of American theater, very significant legacy. And her house, Pretty Penny, is being designated as a literary landmark during the festival times. So that's, while that is not part of the festival itself, we're helping to promote and say, this is the kind of thing you're going to be able to see and take part in while you're at the festival here in Nyack. I think that's it. Let's see. Yeah, that's the end of it. That's not under development. The NyackArtsFestival.com is actually a very lively website right now. So that's what we're doing. And Eric, I can wait to talk a little bit later on the Q&A about how we got into this and what were some of the problems, the challenges that we had, and what are the key successes. Maybe that would be better coming back and visiting that.
Yeah, yes, certainly I have a lot of follow-up for that. But yeah, I think we'll give Joe an opportunity to cover an overview of the O positive, and then we'll get back to both of you on some of those questions. But yeah, thank you. That was a great overview. It looks like a really exciting new event coming to the Hudson Valley. So I think at this point we'll head it over to Joe. Joe, if you want to just sort of introduce yourself, give us. I know there's a lot to cover with O positive, but and I have that video if you want me to cue that up whenever you like.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. I feel like hi everybody, I'm Joe Conn from O positive. I hope you're all having a great day. Eric, thank you so much. Thanks to Pattern for Progress for having us at O positive, and Craig, sounds like a great thing you're kicking off. O positive in a nutshell. I mean, really honestly, we give this talk everywhere, and I have a video queued up because I figured let the video talk. So just in a nutshell, in 2010, I'm a painter. I met a person at a party who handed me a beer and said he wanted to bring a band to Kingston and he'd clean their teeth. And within like a week, a bunch of artists and doctors and musicians got together and said, what if we valued art and medicine equally? What if we literally said, you perform, you paint, you help put together this festival, and you will see a doctor, you will see a dentist, you will see a massage therapist. Would people come? Just donate whatever you want. Could we actually pull it off? And that was in 2010. Since then, we've had festivals across the country. We're in year 13 in Kingston. We're a big draw, we know, and but the most important part that we really don't get to talk about a lot is the amount of care that we've given. So maybe we'll play the video, and then during questions and answers, we can talk a little bit about the amount of care and how we actually build the clinic and do what we do. Does that sound cool?
Yep, that sounds wonderful. So I will share my screen once more, and oops. All right, make sure I share my sound. All right.
I think O positive is a weekend that makes me think about my physical health. I think artists, creative types are frequently the worst at getting exercise or getting outside.
As a musician, you spend so much time in the car, and we have kids that we're carrying, and the body, just the normal wear and tear, aches and pains. It's nice to have somebody take some time and work on your body. And it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, it makes O positive truly a one-of-a-kind experience.
It's an unusual event. It's hard to explain. You go, okay, so we're gonna make an appointment for something, and they're like, no, it's that weekend. There's a clinic right here, and you either before you perform or after or on one of the other days of the weekend are going to make time to go in there, and it's a whole element of your experience.
This is the place where artists and musicians come, the artists and musicians who are performing and creating part of the festival, and they come here, they walk in and they'll sit down with nurses, doctors, they can get a massage, get acupuncture. This is where most of the treatment for the festival happens over the course of the weekend. We have about 100 volunteer practitioners who give their time over the course of the weekend, plus a nice core group of people who work year-round to make this happen.
I ended up getting an amazing massage, and I can rotate my wrists in both directions equally. Feels really good.
I had some body work done, which is something that always feels like a luxury. Even if you do have health insurance, you don't always get that preventative type of care, the maintenance work. And so I always go for that at O Positive.
Well, you know, what I'm giving, my contribution is playing some music, and you know, with what dental care costs, I think, you know, I'm getting the better end of the deal. I'm just going to go on stage and have some fun, and for that, I'm having my teeth looked at. I know Mike Miranda in the Mammals talks about, you know, a spoon at a time. You know, that little changes that we all can contribute, you know, beget larger changes. And I think this festival represents something that I think is happening more, and that's people doing what they can at the level they can do it to bring about changes. And the O Positive Festival, I think, is a really shining example of that.
All right. Amazing. Thank you. That was a great, whoops. Next video is starting. All right. So Joe, I think you're on mute.
I am, yeah, thanks. Yeah, I thought it would be kind of nice to play a video. I mean, we've got so many of them if you go to our website and our YouTube channel, but you know, what started as a really simple idea has blossomed into, we have done almost 5,000 clinic visits now and almost 2,000 dental visits. We have about 4,000 to 5,000 people a year that come to the festival. Maybe really importantly, we've done festivals across the country. And we also have a very large mural program that we're known for. I think we're the largest mural program of a city our size in the country now. And just giving young artists, and especially young women of artists, we learned very quickly we're not part of the mural conversation, and really giving them a platform to put their large scale murals up in the city of Kingston, but also Chicago, San Francisco, Poughkeepsie, North Adams, Haverhill, Mass. Like all of these towns now have mural programs of their own that we sort of kickstarted, or just ongoing O Positive programs. And we had in that video, it's funny because it's a few years old. We're up to about 150 providers now. We're beginning year-round clinic ideas and beginning to actually see people year-round. And I think most importantly, you know, it's interesting because Craig, you were talking about charging for your festival, and that's a big issue with us. Like, how the hell do we pay for this, right? Like everybody's donating, and we never know if we're going to make it. But the thing that we have found is, if you really take money out of the system, even for a weekend, and say, hey, look, we really care about art and music in this neighborhood, and our health community cares. It's amazing the ripple effect that happens outside of that, because everybody else jumps in and says, I can cook in the kitchen. I can donate food. I can cut the grass. I can set up the booths. I'm here with a saw. Like, it's just become this beautiful thing, and it keeps giving and moving forward. And yeah, that's, you know, it's a pretty beautiful thing. It's a very hard thing to describe what we do, because I had a meeting with a doctor this morning, and all she talked about was how different it is not to have 8 to 12 minutes with a patient, but have half an hour or an hour to just have a conversation about where they're at. So, you know, how deep does that work in community, and how deep do those roots actually work for how we not only build like a tighter community, because that's like a buzzword too, right? You're talking about like all these different buzzwords, but how do we make neighborhoods, and small neighborhoods, resilient? How is it that you know your local doctor, you know where your water is, you know where your food is, and how our big thing at O Positives, how are we just one stitch in that fabric?
Wonderful. Thank you both for sharing information about very different but equally inspiring, I think, events. So at this point, I think it would be great if we could dive into some of the practical information that is sort of behind the scenes, maybe for getting these types of events off the ground, because there's a big distance between, I don't have to tell you two, between like having a really great idea and actually seeing it come to fruition. So maybe we could stick with you, Joe, since we just watched the video on O Positive, but I'm wondering from both of you if you could speak to basically like how you get started. So you have an idea, what in your mind are some of the first early steps that people should take to try to get an event off the ground? And I don't want to influence your answers too much, but some things I'm thinking of are like, who do you approach at a municipality in the community that you want to have this event in? And like, when do you do that in the process? And then maybe if you could touch on a little bit of like how you build up your network of, I mean, it sounds like both of these events rely on a lot of volunteer hours and passion there. So I guess we'll start with Joe on that, if you don't mind. You could speak to that.
It's like Joe's answer is just so almost off the cuff, like, well, you have a beer with a friend and then you figure out what your next friend is. But I mean, I think it's that kind of conversation, right? It's like, who is it that you know that would be interested in what you're thinking about? And then who do they know? Like, it's real grassroots work. It's not, there's no top-down situation. Live Nation isn't dropping in on Craig and saying like, great idea for a festival in Nyack, here's $2 million. Like that's not happening, and nor should it, right? Like we don't need national organizations to come in and drop tons of money on things to make things happen. We need things to happen from the bottom up, or they won't be real, and they won't feel real to the person who attends it. And that's really, really important. Yeah, and we have something on our website called Toolkit, if anybody wants to look it up. And Toolkit is literally, we built it during COVID. It's how we do what we do, and we're giving it away open source. Like, here you go. This is exactly how we throw a positive. Here's what you do first, all the steps right through to cleanup. And we do a thing once a month if you want to sign up, where I get on and I just talk to people all over the country and be like, what's your issue? What do you got? How do you work around it? So, that's it. For me, it's just really about talking to people, being really honest and saying, we've got this crazy idea. And we've done other things besides O Positive too. And also remember, failure is awesome, right? Like trying things and not having it work is valuable. Like, then you're like, well, that didn't work. I mean, I can show you rooms full of our office of ideas that just did not fly. And you're like, oh, that was a crazy one. So what do you think, Craig?
I totally agree with you. One, the festival that is such a fabulous concept. I can't wait to share your video with my peers and colleagues. It's a real problem for artists, and particularly for young artists. They don't have health insurance. I went through all my 20s. I had no health insurance, and I just hoped that I would stay better. And the same thing with dental work. That's just the nature of the beast. They don't have the kind of money available. They don't have disposable money, and what they hope that that their health is going to be okay, and they can continue to pursue their art. So this is inventive and creative, and just a wonderful service that you are providing. It gives you faith in the goodness of people. It's really excellent. When we arrived in Nyack in 2018 after living in the East Village of New York for close to 40 years. So I had the advantage actually of having relatively new eyes and looking at Nyack. And I was contemplating retirement at that time, but I loved the village and I thought there were opportunities here. So we started to envision an annual festival at Nyack along the Hudson. And what I think is really important is that you need the engine that is going to drive whatever this idea is forward. Most likely Joe was that engine in O Positive, I don't know. Definitely I was in this. I had this idea, I wanted to move it, and I just, I imposed my will. I said, this is going to happen, and just drove it forward. And then having that person who is going to has a passion about what's going to happen and is going to push this this agenda forward is very important. I don't think you can have people come together and say, oh, it might be nice to do a festival, because that they're not going to be invested in it. So I think that's key. I started talking to people right away, and I started talking to the mayor, Don Hammond. I made presentations at the Chamber of Commerce. I did presentations at the village trustees in Upper Nyack, spoke to the town board, reached out to local community members. One of the things is that a lot of these towns are small towns and they're kind of close knit. And I was given some advice early on, is make sure everybody knows what's going on in advance. And I did that. I tried to reach out to as many people as possible, so nobody would say, oh, I never heard about this, you know, or what's going on, that kind of thing. So communication is very important, and building an infrastructure. I took a much more kind of corporate approach to this. We joined the Chamber of Commerce. We joined the Rockland Business Association. We go to meetings and we do that kind of thing, and trying to build up this this infrastructure, this foundation. We could, and I did this for over 2 years. We were going to do this in 2019, but then where we were going to do it, the retaining wall collapsed. We couldn't do it there. And then 2020, it was COVID. 2021, it was still COVID. So finally, all these years later, we're actually going to do this festival. The truth of the matter is, we needed that much time. And we still need more time. I mean, I wake up in the middle of the night and say, oh my God, what have we done? I don't have the budget for this, you know, and it's very stressful, but at the same time, it's invigorating. And yeah, fail. Beckett said, fail again, and then fail better, because out of that you learn.
Great, thank you both for that. Lots of good practical information in there. A takeaway that I heard is basically communication, right? So figure out who needs to know that you're coming to town, and who you should hear from, and who should hear from you, and do that early and often. So that's great. And a kind of in a related question, obviously the placemaking is in the title of this webinar, and I think it's important to both of you that your events really have ties within the community, and you both already talked about how your events really tie into the communities that they take place in, so Nyack and Kingston. I'm wondering if there's anything you can speak to in terms of strategies or takeaways that other potential event organizers could take away for really making sure that the event it has ties with the community, and is not just something that, you know, could be picked up and plopped somewhere else. Like you know that this event's taking place in Nyack, you know that you're in downtown Kingston. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone wants to jump on that first. So basically, how can you ensure or foster a sense of community buy-in and community involvement with your event?
Craig, can I jump in on that?
Yep.
Okay. First and foremost, there's always going to be people that call you out for not doing enough, right? Let's put that right on the table. Right? We've had it since the beginning. We expected it. Totally cool. Also, because imagine if we have 50 bands a year and 350 apply, that's 300 bands that have not gotten in, and people will be upset that they didn't get in. So, and you want to put together programming that is local, because that's really how you get people there. But for us, it was really about let's really curate this. Let's make it something that people really want to come to and is special and is not, for us, we just didn't want it to be a street festival. We wanted it to be great music, great art, start there, great healthcare, right? And then what we learned, because we listened really closely to the people that were coming to the festival, after 2 years, it stuck. We didn't think it would stick. In fact, after year one, we all were like, everybody but me was like, that's great, let's go home. And I was like, can we sit around and talk about next year? And everybody was like, what are you talking about next year? That's it. And I was like, no, there's something here, because we had taken care of about 150 artists and musicians that weekend, real care. So we were like, wow, people need this care. So first and foremost, for us, make sure it's a mission that is what is needed in the community, no matter what that community is where you are. So for us, we want to get healthcare to artists and musicians. Then listen to the people that come to the festival, because what they started to say was, this is great. I'm giving you $10, $50, $100 for a ticket. What's available for us regarding healthcare as a festival goer?
Yeah.
So we built a whole weekend called Explore in our festival, which is cycling, yoga, road racing, everything you can imagine. From there, that has just been like our biggest growth. It's just everybody wants their part of well-being in the festival. So I think ultimately it's really like, make sure the mission is tight, make sure you're fulfilling the mission, and then have an open heart and listen. And be ready for the criticism and listen to it.
Yeah, those are key. Those are key elements, Joe. I agree with them very much. For us, we brought in our theater company is an ensemble. We perform in New York City, and we also perform now in Nyack. We do programming there. We wanted to bring in the local community as well, so that's why we reached out to the Rockland Symphony Orchestra and the Children's Shakespeare Theater, so it would have that kind of involvement. And the art itself, it's hard because we don't have it under our belt yet. I have such incredible confidence in the quality of the shows that we're doing, that this is going to be a kind of thing that they haven't seen before, in a setting that they haven't seen before, and the quality of the work will be something that they want to come back to. I mean, that's what I'm really hoping for. The buy-in from the community, a lot of it has been actually how this is going to have economic impact on you, on the businesses. That was key for us. That study was, and say, we will do this, we're going to control the number of people that are going to come to town, and we are projecting 1,500 attendees for this with paid tickets, and if that survey is correct, that their local economy should result in approximately $500,000 of revenue that goes into the local economy. Well, of course, you start taking that to the local businesses. They say, "Well, yeah, this sounds great," and we get buy-in from them right away. Nyack already has a very strong community culture, and my wife, who's the artistic director, has basically said, Nyack doesn't need any fixing. Nyack has it. What it needs is a little uplift, a little bit more recognition, so we can get these tourist dollars into Nyack. They can come in, they can drop $1,200, and then they can go away, and they've had a great time, and the community has benefited from it.
Great. Thank you. I just real quick want to remind anyone, if you do have a question for anyone on this panel, feel free to drop it in the Q&A, and I can bring it up to their attention. So Craig, just sticking with that measuring of the economic impact, that study that you mentioned that you did up front, wondering if you could elaborate on that a little bit more. It's sort of an interesting tactic, and I think a lot of people would like to replicate that if they had the means to. I know you said it was a costly upfront endeavor, so but it seems like it's paid for itself, I guess, in the benefits and the ways that you've been able to choose that. So I guess I know you already talked about it, but can you speak to like why you felt that was a necessary step to take, an early upfront step?
Yeah, we were applying for funding through the ESD, the Market New York, I Love New York application, and the problem was we hadn't done this before. We didn't know anything, and I was talking to the people who we were working with. Is there a way that we can kind of collect some data about, would people be interested in doing this? Could we do a survey? And that's kind of where it went from there, and we got that kind of feedback from it. And it was, it was utility. I mean, in order to do this this application correctly, we wanted to have that data, that they could have that. Now, our problem here is like what we're talking about, and we have a webinar coming up on July 6th with people who are corporate sponsors of this, local businesses, and say, how can we measure outcomes? Because we got the pre-festival data, and what about the follow-up? How can we measure that? So we go to the local restaurants and say, okay, if there's a prefix menu or they give you a code, can you track those dollars? So we have real specific data, and say at the end of it we can say, yes, this did help the local businesses and it's measured by these amounts of dollars, that kind of thing. So that's what we're looking to do. And it's a little tricky, but we're engaging the local businesses and say, this is what we want to do. You can understand the benefits of it. So how can you help us collect this data?
Great, thank you. So Joe, going back to you, you mentioned that one of the important things that you do is listen to the feedback that you're getting. And Craig was just talking about this sort of measuring success. I actually don't know the answer to this question. Is there any sort of formal feedback process that you engage in to try to improve the festival next year or make changes, and just even internally in terms of measuring your success or measuring your progress?
Right.
Any internal mechanisms for that?
Well, the first thing we measure is how many people go through the clinic, right? We have this many artists and musicians. How many go through the clinic? What do they get? What do they need? So that's actually easy, right? If they're like, sometimes we get very specific requests. I remember a band would play the festival if we could find them orthopedic shoes. And we did, right? So we found a podiatrist, we made shoes. So there's that kind of thing, right? That's really basic, but it's core to our mission. In terms of programming, what we hear from the general public, we have suggestion boxes everywhere. We have ways for people to write in. We have QR codes up all around town during the festival. What do you want to see? What do you want to hear? What are the issues? Most people will bring up their issues on social media. They won't come right at you. I would love it if somebody had an issue with something we did and they came right to me, because then I could address it. But I can't address it on social media. It's not worth it. It's an echo chamber. Just calling that out, flagging that for everybody. So that's hard. But if we see something and it makes a lot of sense, we're like, well, that makes a lot of sense. And we'll reach out to someone. If we see someone that just says my band didn't play, screw O positive, then that's kind of hard for us to do anything. I'll probably reach out and be like, I'm sorry you feel that way, apply again next year. Eventually everybody gets in. It's just we only have so many spots. So there's that. But to the point about what people want to see, we've done some really cool things. Like we literally took a VW bus one year and got Post-it notes with a project that was going on in the City of Kingston about what people want. It was called the Unsurvey. What did everybody in the City of Kingston want to see in the City of Kingston? And they literally wrote them on they wrote on the bug, and then they wrote on Post-it notes and put them all over the VW. And then we put them all up on it actually took 2 storefronts. There were thousands of them, and then took photos, but they did the Unsurvey all over the city. So we were part of a much bigger project. And we like doing that. We like saying like, okay, here's our demographic. Here's what you can expect at our festival. And how do you want to reach these people? And then you can say, okay, we were part of this, or we were able to get you this group of people, because we're not everything to everybody. It's a very big community, diverse, geographically large city. And, 29,000 people don't come to the festival. So it's, and that's okay. So, and actually, Craig, that was something I was going to ask you in one of your responses was you said, we're going to limit the amount of people that are coming to your festival. I have to ask why. Like, I like limiting things. We particularly keep our things small too, but why a 1,500 limit?
Yeah, we were concerned about blowback in the local community. Nyackers have raised the art of complaining up to a true art process, and they don't hold back at all. So it makes you very trepidatious. So we wanted the community to know that we're not going to have 250,000 people show up in Nyack for a free festival. That we can control this. Now, of course, we wish we could do more. We're looking at to increase the number of performances about that, but because of the way we do business is that it will be paid tickets that we could do that. Joe, I've already picked up, I made notes. The toolkit is something, it's great. This is something that we should be doing. What a great idea. And I love the bug suggested, the unsurvey. Okay, it's like totally cool. And also it's got audience participation in it. You know, my voice has been heard, you know, all that kind of stuff. And the suggestion boxes. I mean, these are really great ideas for such a program that is so ethical and correct to do.
Yeah, I have to echo that sentiment of the creative feedback of the post-it notes. That's great. Certainly a lot more engaging than a Survey Monkey link, something like that, which
Right.
get away from that. So what you just mentioned in terms of the fear of potential blowback and just general complaints that are of course going to rise whenever you're trying to do something new or just something in a community. There's always going to be, virtually always going to be some naysayers or people that have something negative to say about it. All that to say, having gone through this process, I know, so Joe, you've been involved in this since 2010. Craig, the event hasn't happened yet, but you've gone through this lengthy process of planning it. Is there any, if you were going to do it all over again, I guess, is there any stumbling blocks that you think other people might run into that you, from your experience getting these types of events off the ground, can kind of point out and say, hey, if you're gonna start an event in a community, watch out for this, and here's how you might avoid it. Basically, share with us any words of wisdom, some lessons learned from your various experience. So. I guess we can start. Craig, go ahead.
Yeah, I would just say that I think I was lucky. We had good advice. People were advising me along the way. People wanted this festival to happen. They saw how it could be, and they were advising me on who to contact, and how to go about opening up this communication. We've had 3 webinars for the local community about the orientation, about what's going on. They were well attended, and there were lots of questions which were provided to us. So I haven't made one mistake I made, which was budget. Lumber is ridiculous right now. I mean, it's like my set. This is not a big set, but the set quote came in. The first one was 100% over budget. The second one was 200% over budget, and then we went back and we redesigned everything, but we're still way over budget. So that while we did have contingencies, it's really caused a real problem for us. But that's something that is just that's par for the course. And we have been very good about engaging the community. We're very active on social media and all of that kind of stuff, working with Visit Nyack, and the local press has been very good for us. So because we took a very pragmatic approach to it, I don't think that we have run into any real stumbling blocks yet, but we still might.
Fingers crossed for you. That's good. Joe, I have to imagine in the 10 plus years, there's been some stumbling blocks for O Positive along the way.
I mean, yes. Many stumbling blocks, many hurdles. If I had one word, I would be, I have 2 things. Bookkeeper, number 1, from the get-go. And because I had no idea. I had no idea what to do with anything after a year. I was just like, that worked, now what? So there's that. And also be fearless. Why not? Who cares? Throw it up against the wall. Like, you got nothing to lose. If you're trying something new and it doesn't work, you're out time. Well, if you had the time to think about the idea, then you got time to do it. So go ahead and do it. And damn the torpedoes. That's my attitude. I mean, it just sort of like, if you can, for us, it was like, look, this is really different. And we knew it. Like, this is weird enough that we didn't even know if it would work. And then it almost becomes, you catch lightning in a bottle and you go, oh my gosh, there's more here than we thought. And then it's, how do you manage that? So I think being fearless for us after 12 years is, how do you stay new? How do you change it up? Like, I was just having a conversation with everybody this morning. I threw something at everybody this morning that I found that I was like, look at this, this is crazy. And like, I love starting the day with, look at this, this is crazy. Like, they'll never believe this. This is, how will this work? And why not, right? And I have to just say one thing. The care we give started out with like, yeah, a dentist, a massage therapist, a doctor. But like you would like this, Craig, we're actually, Northwell Health is actually sending Olympus up with cameras, and we now do vocal cord checks for all of our singers. So it's things
great.
that musicians will never go to do on their own unless they're ordered to and get it paid for, that we just have it in our clinic. So it's just be open to growth, be open to change, and make mistakes.
I add something to that too. It's about trying things, throwing things against the wall. If you can do market research, it's not really an innovative new idea, is it? So I keep reminding myself of that. Is that we need to move forward, and again it might come because I'm at a point in my career where I'm not a careerist anymore, and nobody's going to really hurt me or hurt my career. But I see this as a tremendous opportunity for my theater company, and also a tremendous opportunity for the people of Nyack.
Wonderful. Yeah. So be fearless, try new things, don't be afraid of mistakes, and be practical all at once. I think that's a takeaway that I heard, at least. So we're approaching 1:30. I wonder if we could just squeeze in one more question about, and I hesitate to end on this, but money. So you mentioned, budgeting snafu with the lumber, bookkeeping. I think holding back a lot of people from a great idea might be the how do you pay for it question. And I'm wondering if you guys could just speak a little bit to some of the sources that you draw from, if you're willing to share, and then strategies for fundraising, things of that nature. And yeah, so just
I'll talk to that a little bit. When we were a little ahead of the game, because we're a theater company, we've been around for 17 years, so we had some infrastructure underneath us. We had funding from New York State Council on the Arts, and we had some foundation. We had some subscribers and things like that. We had an existing board of trustees in New York City who were very encouraging about this. So we had that as a basis. But regardless of that, this is the largest thing we've ever done in our 17 years, and we're really kind of like putting it all out there. A tremendous investment for us, and money-wise, I mean, our budget is somewhere around $300,000, and right at the moment I'm about $225,000, and I spend a lot of time, making theater has a smidgen that is actually spent on doing plays. The rest of it is, is talking to people. It's out, schmoozing. It's fundraising, writing grants, and all that kind of stuff in order to make all this happen. But I'm very willing to share any information with anybody who wants to know the ins and outs. We're all about transparency and collaboration and that kind of thing. So that's not a problem. If anybody wants to reach out, please do.
Great, thanks. In the last couple of minutes, Joe, do you have any words of wisdom on funding?
I mean, I know we're right up against it. My day is spent sponsors and foundations and asking, and that's what I do. Feel free to write to me, ask me any questions you want. It's not easy, but it is easy. We started with zero. We had no money in the bank. We had no bank account. We had no idea what we were doing. And I just literally knocked on my neighbors' doors and said, we've got this crazy idea. You got $10? And raised like a couple hundred and just started. And I think that's it. I think that we have a problem in our system where everything is based upon money, and we have to start with it. And yes, you have to have some, but at the end of the day, if the idea is good enough, it's going to fly no matter what, and the money will come.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you guys both so much for sharing your experience, your insights about these events. I'm certainly inspired. I hope that our viewers are inspired. So I mean, just to recap very briefly, I heard, a person who is the engine behind the process is important. Being fearless is important. Trying new things, not being afraid of failure. Open communication with the community that you're starting this event in to make sure there's community buy-in and support. Lots of practical other tidbits that I'm sure I haven't covered in this summary here. So really excellent presentations and Q&A with you. So thank you guys so much. And thanks, of course, to everyone who showed up to watch this webinar with us today. Hopefully you took some time to eat some lunch while you were watching it. Just a reminder that the recording of this webinar will be posted online if you want to check it out later or share it with someone who missed it. And we'll send some more information about both of these organizations in a follow-up email. And yeah, we hope to see you at the next installment of the Sidewalk Talk series from Pattern for Progress. So thanks everyone, and take care.